He just found out mid-match, and everything changed. Imagine winning your opening match, feeling good, building momentum, and then suddenly, someone tells you the biggest rival on your path to glory is gone. That's exactly what happened to Jannik Sinner when he was told that Carlos Alcaraz had officially withdrawn from the French Open. And his reaction? Completely raw, completely real. "Just now?" he asked, clearly caught off guard. You could hear it in his voice. This wasn't just news. This was a shift in the entire tennis landscape. But here's the thing. While some fans immediately jump to say this opens a door for Sinner, the reality is way more complicated. Because this isn't just about a missing player. This is about a rivalry pause at its peak, a tournament suddenly missing its defending champion, and a pressure that just multiplied overnight. And trust me, the biggest twist in this story isn't what you think. Because sometimes, when your biggest rival disappears, the real battle actually gets harder. Let's break this down. So here's what we know. Carlos Alcaraz, the defending champion in Paris, has officially pulled out of the 2026 French Open. The announcement didn't come with a dramatic press conference or a long build-up. It dropped quietly, but its impact? Massive. And what makes this even more surreal is the timing. Sinner was literally on court in Madrid, fresh off a tough 3-set win over Benjamin Bonzi, when he was informed during his post-match interview. No preparation, no warning, just a sudden question, and a moment that instantly changed the narrative of the entire clay season. And you could see it immediately. "That's tough. That's very tough," Sinner said. Not excitement, not relief, just disappointment. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know about where this rivalry stands right now. Because let's be real, modern tennis thrives on rivalries. And the one between Sinner and Alcaraz? It's not just promising. It's already defining this era. They played 17 times. 17. And almost every match feels like a final. There's tension, respect, contrast in styles. Everything you want. And here's what makes it even more interesting. Alcaraz has had the edge on clay, especially in the biggest moments. He beat Sinner in their first clay court title clash back in 2021. And more importantly, he beat him again in the 2025 French Open final. That's not just a win. That's a statement. That's the kind of result that sticks in your mind when you step onto the same court again. So heading into Roland Garros this year, the storyline felt almost perfect. Sinner chasing a career Grand Slam. Alcaraz defending his title. A potential rematch looming. It had everything. And now it's gone. Just like that. But here's where things get really interesting. Because on paper, yes, this changes everything in Sinner's favor. Without Alcaraz, the biggest obstacle on clay is removed. The guy Sinner himself called definitely the best in the world here on the surface is no longer in the draw. That's huge. But if you think this means Sinner is just going to walk into Paris and lift the trophy, you're underestimating how tennis actually works. Pressure doesn't disappear when your rival leaves. It doubles. Because now, it's not about beating the best. It's about proving you can win when you're expected to. And that's a completely different challenge. Sinner even hinted at that emotional shift without saying it directly. You always want to play against the best in the world, he said. That's not just respect. That's a competitor's mindset. Because deep down, the greatest players don't just want titles. They want validation. They want to know they beat everyone. They want to win when it's hardest, not when the path is suddenly cleared. And that's why this moment is actually dangerous for Sinner. Because now, the narrative has flipped. If he wins, people might say, well, Alcaraz wasn't there. If he loses, it becomes even bigger. That's the pressure he's walking into. And don't forget, Roland Garros has never been a forgiving tournament. Clay doesn't lie. It exposes everything. Your movement, your patience, your mental strength, it all gets tested over long rallies and long matches. And even without Alcaraz, this draw is still loaded. Let's talk about the names waiting. Novak Djokovic, still chasing history. Still chasing that 25th Grand Slam. He's 38, yes. But if you followed his career, you already know writing him off is the fastest way to look foolish. This is the same player who has made a career out of proving people wrong. And when it comes to Grand Slams, especially ones where the spotlight is brightest, Djokovic has a way of rising when no one expects it. Then there's Alexander Zverev, a player who came within a set of winning Roland Garros just 2 years ago. And who stopped him? Alcaraz. Now imagine that scenario again, but this time Alcaraz isn't there. You don't think Zverev sees this as his opportunity? You don't think he's thinking, this is my moment? That's dangerous. Then we have Casper Ruud, not always flashy, not always dominant week to week. But put him on Paris clay and something changes. He finds a level. He's been to multiple finals here. And somehow, he always finds his way deep into the tournament. That's not luck. That's comfort on the surface. And if he lands on the opposite side of the draw from Sinner, don't be surprised if he's there again at the end. Then there's Stefanos Tsitsipas, a player who might not be the favorite anymore, but still has the game to disrupt anyone. And yes, even Stan Wawrinka. Maybe not in his prime. Maybe not the top contender. But this is a former champion. A player who knows exactly what it takes to win here. And in a long tournament, experience can become a weapon. So no, this isn't a free path. This is a different kind of battlefield. But let's go back to Alcaraz for a second, because this part matters more than anything. This withdrawal isn't about strategy. It's about health. Sinner said himself, these kind of injuries, you have to go very, very slow. That's the reality of modern tennis. The schedule is brutal. The physical demands are relentless. And sometimes, even the best players in the world have to step back. Alcaraz has already achieved so much this season, but pushing through an injury, especially on clay, can do long-term damage. And if there's one thing we've learned from tennis history, it's this: rushing a comeback almost never ends well. So while fans are disappointed, and they should be, this might actually be the smarter move. Because rivalries like Sinner versus Alcaraz, they're not built in one tournament. They're built over years, over battles, over moments that define eras. And this one is just paused, not ended. And when it comes back, it's going to be even bigger. But here's the twist I promised you earlier. This situation might actually reveal something deeper about Sinner. Because now, for the first time on this stage, he's not the challenger. He's the favorite. And that changes everything. When you're chasing, you play free. When you're leading, you carry expectations. Every match becomes heavier. Every mistake feels bigger. And every opponent comes at you with nothing to lose. That's the real test. Not talent, not skill, but mindset. Can Sinner handle being a target? Can he stay locked in when everyone expects him to win? Can he prove that his greatness isn't tied to a rivalry, but stands on its own? That's what Roland Garros 2026 is really about now. Not just a trophy, a statement, and maybe even a legacy moment. Because if he wins this tournament, he completes a career Grand Slam. Think about that. That's not just another title. That's history. And history doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It shows up when things are messy, unexpected, uncomfortable, exactly like this. So now the question shifts to you. Was this actually good for Sinner? Or did it just make everything harder? And more importantly, if he wins in Paris without Alcaraz, does it feel the same? Or does the rivalry leave a shadow over the achievement? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those moments where the tennis world is completely split. Some see opportunity, others see pressure. But one thing is certain. When the French Open begins on May 24th, all eyes will be on one name, Jannik Sinner. And whether he likes it or not, this is his moment. And moments like this, they define careers. Tennis IQ, where the game never stops and neither do the stories.